Currency, Part 3 of 3. Throughout history, currency has been both public and private. At different times, banks have been able to offer private script backed up by the specie in their vaults. Bank script ended with widespread bank failure and bank holiday of the 1930s Great Depression. An ongoing American debate has been who should control the money supply, public or private. An early Bank of the United States was closed by Andrew Jackson. A national bank returned with the Federal Reserve Bank as a quasi-public-private bank. The primary question is who should control and benefit from the currency in circulation. It has not been the little fella, but the Rockefellers. Importantly, the buying public ultimately determines what currency is common and current. Oh, and every check you write is a temporary form of money, a bank script or draft. Loans are a form of money, that is, complex private currencies. They are symbols of wealth traded for common money, for example, bank loans for Freddie Mac cash. Loans are another human product that is a form of money, a storehouse of value. Individuals and institutions often convert their monies into loans or share ownership of loans. For example, Freddie Mac and Sallie Mae. As such, loans constitute another form of money. Oh, and every check you write is a temporary form of money, a bank loan as well as a bank script or draft. If private loans are a form of money readily convertible into other forms of money, so are the loans of the Federal Reserve System. One of the biggest lenders in the nation with the most loans is the quasi-public agency responsible for the money supply, the Federal Reserve System. The Fed lends money to private banks through the discount window, which is associated with the prime interest rate. The Fed lends money for politicians' mistakes by buying treasury paper. How many types of money are formally recognized by the Federal Reserve in its trying to impose a monetary policy, usury, on the economy? M1 to M6. It is ironic and telling that the Federal Reserve plays a shell game as to which M or M is the most important. To manage the economy, the Fed can adjust interest rates on different money supplies. Alan Greenspan admitted the Fed could have dampened the market exuberance by raising the interest rates on margin loans at many points from the mid-1990s onward. But he didn't. Reductio absurdum. A full money supply accounting would be all products of human production, that is, how do we manage our time as producers? It is about managing our values and views. Parsimoniously, a simple index of all these money indices is time and how we use it. Instead of managing paper, we need to better manage our time, remembering, of course we are busy, but what are we busy at? Monetarism is an example of money theism, which is a human cancer in all walks of life. Money theism is the worship of money as the goal of life. One sees money greed in churches, homes, business, and media. As products of human activity with which one can swap other products, loans are a form of currency, whether managed by the Federal Reserve System or by bankers. In both cases, as was shown in the S&L crisis of the 1980s and the stock market bubble of the 1990s, it is not the quantity of loans and monies that determine economic well-being, but the quality of loans. What busyness do they stimulate? Like simple currency, if the quantity of loans increases without any focus on quality of resulting production or problem solving, inflation results. It is like the difference between a mother spending money on food or booze. The relationship of loan quality to economic well-being can be seen in the answer to the question, Do you want your banks lending money to farmers or gamblers? When the guiding rule is only quantity of money, inflation will result as problem ignorers have money that could be lent at lower interest rates to problem solvers. Loans are like water. They nurture either food or weeds. In Nevada, a desert state with little water, the fight between Las Vegas and farmers for limited water boils down to a simple quality of life question: craps or crops. Velocity of circulation is also known as the banker's law. It says that each time a banker makes a loan, the money supply increases. The more loans by bankers, the greater the velocity of money. But important loan questions are not asked. Does time increase? Does the quality of life increase? Depends. Depends, like lending a gun to a person. What do they do with the gun? Murder or protect? Groceries or booze? If loan activity is doubling by lending to gamblers, as was the case in the 1990s stock bubble, or unproductive loans, S&L crisis, or to make war, 2003, then our quality of life will not improve, but rather we will experience an accelerating existential meltdown into hell. Like money and loans, stocks are products of human production and are readily interchangeable. Stocks are a form of currency. Currency is whatever product people choose as a storehouse for their problem-solving time to buy the time of others. Some choose stocks. Stockflation is the cheapening of stocks as a tool of capitalism. Like inflation, from which it is derived, it is a source of inflation. After trading money for Wall Street stocks, most people find they have less money. Wall Street stocks are a worse gamble than Las Vegas. A few lose their savings playing the latter, while millions lost their pensions gambling on the former. As many people who were burned by the stock market bubble of the 1990s can attest, stocks were inflated in value, which cheapened their value as if set on fire. Most people had single-digit returns after their two-armed Wall Streeters burned their money, a return opposite of the listed take by Las Vegas one-armed money burners. Many people know that certain advertised limited editions have their manufacturing lines reopened as people buy more and more limited editions. Same with initial public offerings, IPOs, and executive stock options. At the IPO, only about 10% of the limited edition shares are put into play. The other 90% are held back for dribbling out as the market roller coasters. As the image on the right shows, media hype creates a gold rush mentality in IPOs. Each gold rush into the latest stock market bubble leads to economic chaos, except for the individuals who organize and skim, economists and politicians. Today, who has more limited edition versions? Politicians, economists, brokers, or pimps? While IPO supposedly means initial public offering, a better translation is insiders fooling outsiders. A telling irony is how some companies, Seagate drives, have been repeatedly flipped or churned in the marketplace via the privatization IPO merry-go-round. How many times can a corporation be a market virgin, that is, an innocent pubis offering? This 1995 Hubble telescope image of gaseous clouds trillions of miles long captures the essence of how the little fella is guaranteed a screwing by monstrous IPO bubbles on Wall Street. The boiler room photo reiterates how Wall Street generates this vast amount of hot air that cheapens all forms of money. Only those who accumulate the symbols of wealth at a rate faster than the symbol's loss value come out ahead. it ain't the little fella. If you convert your everyday money into Wall Street money, remember how fools and their time are soon parted. Executive stock options have the same impact as IPOs, only worse because of manage the shop harm. If you were a corporate CEO who had millions in stock options, would you spend your time in the stress of building a company or simply cash out by book cooking to play the market? Executive stock ops are money that never goes into production and jobs. To say executive stock options increase performance ignores both human nature and market history. If you double your kid's allowance, does he spend more time at the books or at the mall? Look at all the wasteful lifestyles of the corrupt executives of Enron, WorldCom, White House, etc. It takes a lot of time and effort to spend that kind of money that kind of way. Who's managing the shop? With stock op money, execs do the double BM, build mansions, and ball mistresses. The real stock fraud is the legalization of decapitalism under the guise of capitalism. Worries about insider trading are a red herring, for all stock options constitute insider trading. Wall Street wastes 99% of the capital that it touches. Wall Street is decapitalistic. The same with Bush's tax cuts, especially on inheritance and dividends. No jobs, just more economic BMs, building mansions and balling mistresses. What IPO gets issued most often? Irrational political offerings, aka political promise. Habitual Pauls repeat inflated promises. Every election, the campaign speeches come out of the closet. Voters buy political promises at a dear price, paying in lost jobs, savings, and retirement. Were key decision makers in policy making aware of the greed behind stockflation, the cheapening of your money? Consider the political donations, graph, by the poster cads for corporate sleaze. The average person should not expect the habitual politicians in Congress to change the laws, for as Mark Twain said, we have the best Congress that money can buy. A review of the major political figures and contributors show their money comes from stockflation and other forms of manipulating symbols rather than substances of wealth. If anyone was aware of the cheapening of stock, it was those who stole big money or allowed its theft. Voters should remember the head of the Democratic Party who stock opted $18 million off one telecom before it bankrupted. Will voters remember how the first President Bush got $80 million from a failed telecom? Voters should recognize that despite the protestations of family friends of the current Bush president, the corporate records speak the truth of ill-got gains and real big lies. Likewise, in the 1990s, the Federal Reserve was aware of the inflation in stock prices, but did not use the tools